Hi there, and welcome back to the Hub of Junior Golf Podcast. I'm Ryan Burr, joined as always by the founder of the Junior Golf Hub, Nick. Roger, really an exciting time of year. I actually just saw the ratings come out for the PGA Tour this week with, of course, Tommy Fleetwood finally breaking through. And for a long time, there was certainly an adage that it would only be an American that would really rate. And you couldn't really have and I'm not calling Tommy Fleetwood a star, but for whatever reason, that guy is a ratings machine. Maybe it's the long hair, Roger, that you and I don't have anymore, but people tuned in to see if he was going to choke it away or finish. Ratings were very good.
Yeah, it definitely. It's so funny. It is kind of that story of, people don't come to see the winner of the race. They come to see the crashes at the race, right? So maybe it's that story for Tommy, but and could be that long hair. I mean, listen, it is appealing for some people out there. So, but I mean, it's fun to watch. It's fun to see, his after tournament interview, the grace in which he showed, and all of the disappointments that he's had, and what a great lesson for a lot of the young people out there to kind of hear what he's saying about the learning process is so important to have that failure and keep putting yourself out there. So hopefully a lot of our young audience listened to that and said it's okay to fail. It's okay to learn from that part of it, because I think that is what we hear so often, from parents. It's like, oh, but my kid didn't do this. He didn't finish the tournament. He choked or she choked. And quite frankly, it is the biggest thing that they can do is fail early and fail often, and hopefully get some good lessons from that and have some great successes through that process.
Yeah, not many people ride a bike for the first time without falling first. I mean, it's part of the process for sure. We do have a great guest today, Roger, the coach at Stanford, Conrad Ray, will be joining us. I always laugh. When you're Stanford, does he even bother recruiting? Because when you at Kashada and beyond, when you ask kids what's your dream school, every kid says Stanford.
every kid in our academy, the first word out of their mouth is, I want to go to Stanford. Okay,
right.
Great. Got it.
We won't ask him, but rumor is he might have the inside track on that kid Woods. That's playing so well from Florida. His dad was pretty good, but would be interesting to see if Charlie does indeed follow in his father's footsteps and plays for what was Tiger's teammate then in Coach Ray, and is now obviously put together an absolute powerhouse. Michael Thorne Bjornsson was the last PGA Tour U graduate before this. And I guess that would be 2024. He had a great first year coming off a PGA Tour U. So I'll be interested to talk to Conrad a little bit about that, as he lived it as a head coach with one of his players getting that immediate access and full-time sponsorship. And we will talk recruiting. I mean, even for Stanford, the new rules and how things changes, how does it change things for Conrad Ray? You wouldn't think that they are much of a portal school. There are portal schools, and then there's not. Stanford probably falling in the knot, but I'll be curious for his take on that. But certainly we know that for so many families, they would just like to hear and find out what it takes to get to Stanford and beyond. Stanford is a PDI school. That obviously has been is a huge deal. That Stanford is one of those schools that I don't know. Was it 2 years ago that they first took part in it? Probably 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, 2 years ago. It's hard to believe it's been that long, but you know what? You see those players on those teams there for the men and women's team. We already have winners out there with Carl Vick. I mean, he's already won out there, and you got I'm going blank.
Well, obviously you have Rose on the girls' side, and Thorne Bjornsson and Phillips were both. Phillips, obviously, I think some people might say as great as his junior career was, maybe a little bit of an underachiever at college, turned it on late. I think he finished 10th on PGA Tour U, but boy, did he make the most of his Korn Ferry start and then the most of his PGA start. I mean, he is really the modern day story of just give me a chance and I'll turn it into something big.
Yeah, and it's very interesting because we had a great conversation a couple years ago with him while we are going through PDI there, and I thought it was very eye-opening to hear what he had to say about his development path. And he was like very honest and very open about coming to college, being disappointed, but knowing that he was just growing and continuing to get better about how he prepared himself to play at the next level, and how college was good for him, even though some would say it was a very disappointing college career. I would say he would tell you that it was the fight that he had to go through and his development there was really is what helped springboard him into his professional career. So I think it's a great story, for sure.
Yeah.
Um, and it just goes to show you, like, development happens at different times. It doesn't happen all at one time. Just because you want it doesn't mean it's going to happen for you.
And interesting, going back to PDI and you and Noda going out to Stanford, because I think the message that families are starting to get on the junior side is that this can be part of your absolute daily routine. And when you got out there, Rose Zhang, it wasn't a question of whether she'd be a star. It's when she wanted to go be a star. I mean, she was already that much of a household name, and certainly it has transferred immediately to the LPGA Tour. But I always found it interesting, if you want to know how the brain of a great works, and this is for the families that are, well, I've heard a lot about this PDI, but we have our own routine of going and hitting every club in the bag 4 times and then hitting some putts and then we go play. I mean, everyone thinks they have a routine that might be best for their kid, but in actuality, it's what you've developed that every kid should be doing. So just tell the story of Rose kind of going through PDI. Obviously, at this point, she's the number 1 amateur in the world. She's the best amateur in the world, but was she opened and interested in the PDI process?
Oh, absolutely. Again, she very much like Carl was open and honest about her development, and clearly she was the hands down number 1 player amateur in the world at the time. But she was open for honest feedback, and just as she went through PDI and she saw that she struggled with hitting the 9-ball flights and had one really strong ball flight, which is fantastic. But she also knew that it wasn't going to, be the thing that was going to carry her to the next part of her career and professionally. She knew that she wasn't ready physically. I think, that was a highlight. She did okay. It wasn't she did poorly. She just did okay. But I thought it was really important that she was like, hey, I want to get better. Tell me what I need to do. And I think PDI, we didn't have to tell her anything. PDI really helped her understand that she needed to move the golf ball a little bit higher and a little bit further.
And with that, we do welcome in the aforementioned coach at Stanford, who's won everything there is to win. I do notice a little more gray in that beard, though, Coach. I mean, are we trying to look distinguished today?
Nice to see you guys. This is what happens when you live in a world of NIL and have a scholarship and recruiting around the world, So good to be with you guys.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because when we came on the air, you are the envy, maybe not for the beard, but you are the envy for the institution and the golf school that you work at. Certainly Noda and Roger and I deal with 10,000 junior golfers a year, and part of their questionnaire is their dream school, and if not 10,000, it's 9,999 that say they want to go to Stanford. Obviously, that is it speaks to what you've built there. It speaks to obviously what you, Tiger, Noda did when you were playing there. I mean, people don't remember when Noda started there, Stanford was middle of the pack and then the Pac-10. It wasn't the automatic juggernaut it was. So knowing that so many Americans and foreigners too, just from a prestige, an academic, a golf history, does it make your life easier or not so when it comes to the recruiting game?
Well, thanks for saying that, Ryan. I guess first and foremost, it's important to say that it is a real honor to have the keys to the bus. It's a program that has tradition. It's started well before anything I've had to do with it, and it will go on well beyond what I can add to it. And so that's a huge honor for me, and I don't take that lightly. As you mentioned, there's been so many great players that have laid a foundation of success here that I think need to be recognized. And that tradition, I think in the day and age of kind of the quick hit and the quick post and kind of those types of things, I'm realizing as I get longer in my coaching career how important tradition and history really is. And so those great players, as you mentioned, Noda being one of the all-time greats for so many reasons, really have laid the foundation for that. So, but you're right. It is a landscape that's completely changing by the minute. It's neat to start on a lot of lists, right? And then the fun part is to see who can kind of stay on the list and keep us on the list at the same time. I think it's frustrating for parents sometimes when I talk with them and say that it really is a self-selecting process to end up at Stanford, because there's some really tight filters that you have to go through, whether it's at the level of golf that you need to be, the physical pieces, the academic pieces, and just the character pieces too that we put you through. And so we work hard and we recruit worldwide, and at the end of the year, it's amazing. There's really two or three prospects that end up kind of shining above the rest. And so if you're one of those people, we're fired up. If you're not, it's okay, because I always think it's a good place to set your sights on, because we're going to ask you to do more than a lot of places will from a lot of different angles. And at the end of the day, shooting for the stars is important for anyone.
Oh, I love that. I was just going to say, shooting for the stars, landing on the moon is not a bad thing for most people, right? So if all the other places are the moon and you guys are the stars. So, Conrad, I mean, it's been great to get to know you over the years. Obviously, we came out and did PDI with your teams, and we appreciate that. And we learned a lot from the guys that are there. And you have guys out there being superstars right now that have gone through the PDI. And I was just telling the story to Ryan that, with Carl Billups, we had a great conversation around his college career that seemed to not be as good as everyone thought it was going to be, but yet his positivity around what he got out of the experience being there was he developed as a human being, developed as a golfer, and he knew he had to get better at things that he wasn't as good at, and he thought he was better at. And I thought that was very interesting, that he had that perspective, that it was not a bust for him. It was actually a great experience that really got him out on the PGA Tour, out on the Nationwide Tour, and winning, already out there, which is, I thought, really great. With that being said, you guys do so much good stuff with good players. What are you doing? What's the secret?
Well, maybe it's using PDI. No, I think the gratuitous plug there. No, we've enjoyed. I've really enjoyed the efforts that you guys have made to really try and quantify where golfers are in this whole spectrum of performance. And I think that's the thing nowadays that gets lost sometimes. That is, if we're doing a good job finding the right players, we're trying to forecast who's going to be an All-American in 3 or 4 years, or who's going to have the ability to maybe go play the PGA Tour if everything goes really well. And that's hard sometimes, because the choices that you find or land on aren't always the ones like point and center that you'd pick today. And I always tell junior golfers that, like, don't ever rest on your laurels, because if you feel like you've played your best tournament already, you're in trouble, because there's someone else that's coming up behind you. And so I think that what we try and do is really take a holistic approach. We have hard conversations. I mean, you mentioned Carl Billups. He's a wonderful person and someone that I've locked horns with a lot. And we had our moments, and I think he thought I was crazy on some stuff, and I probably was on a few things, but a few things sunk in. And if nothing else, going back to that comment about the history and tradition, it's nice to be able to say, hey, we've seen what works for a number of really good players like you, and you can either be an outlier in that, or you can say to yourself, hey, there's maybe something I can pick up along the way that will help, as part of my recipe for success. And I think that's what the good players do here. And I don't think it's just in golf, right? Like you mentioned, I think it's it's everything in their life. It's being organized, and it's treating people the right way, and it's the work ethic that we all need to be successful in whatever we're doing. I mean, all of those things are things that we talk openly about, and I think it helps these guys get ready for a career that lies ahead. And maybe it's not just on the tour, right? Maybe it's if they go off in business, or they go do something cool, or they're working in finance, or we've got as many great success stories that maybe don't get told, of guys like that, than we do, maybe even more than we do of guys that have gone out to the PGA Tour and made a lot of money.
With that said, I'm sure if we spoke a few years ago and I told you you'd be in the ACC, you would have laughed. It is a massively changing landscape. An old colleague of mine at ESPN, Hubert Davis, who's now the head basketball coach at North Carolina, forever North Carolina was that dream basketball destination. And in the last 2 years, North Carolina has lost players in the recruiting game to Mississippi State and schools that nothing against Mississippi State, but you never in a million years would have a player in the recruiting game that was in a recruiting battle between Mississippi State and North Carolina. Certainly the SEC with their football situation has had a trickle-down effect to facilities and to all their sports. How weird is it to be in the ACC, and what's that experience been like?
Yeah, I think it's we're calling it just Stanford fashion. We're throwing our elbows around already. We're calling it the All Coast Conference, not the
I like it.
Atlantic Coast Conference. No, I think it's it's a cool opportunity for our program. I appreciate all of the coaches and the golf side, both men and women, that coach ACC programs, because there's a lot of history there. There's a lot of eyeballs. There's a lot of I would say supporters that are pretty golf savvy, which sometimes makes your job a little bit more challenging. A lot of people are playing golf in that footprint. And, I think that those schools matter to those programs, or that those programs matter to those schools, said better. So I think it's a cool thing. I just dropped my daughter off at an ACC school for her freshman year. And that was the first stop. I wanted to go by the golf facility to say hi to my buddy. So, nonetheless, it's a cool thing. And, really at the end of the day, for all of the golf goings on, it doesn't really change our schedule a whole lot. We play a different conference tournament in a new location. But we were used to traveling around and doing that anyways in the Pac-12. It's just a little longer flight on that week of conference play. So, it's exciting. I do think that it's fascinating to see like all of the departments navigate kind of the new world. And I had a conversation this morning with someone that's very close to like our football program. And, everyone's like, oh my gosh, you have to come up with this new revenue sharing kind of budget and the Goliath lift that takes to raise those funds or to find that money. And really it's turning out to be just the table stakes. It's the small blind in the poker game. And now the real game is like above the cap NIL. And I think it's happening in golf too. I think we're seeing some schools, within the Power Four conferences that have revenue sharing carve outs for the golf programs. So, and some that don't. We have some schools that have a full assortment of full scholarships, and some that don't. They're at the old limit of 4.5. So that's really kind of still the Wild West. And I think coaches are having to think about how they can carve out their opportunity for success. And hopefully do it in somewhat of an orderly fashion or in a legal fashion. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Conrad, with that, have you heard and talked to players a lot more about, what's in it for them besides the education, besides the opportunity to come and play at Stanford, meaning, NIL money? We've talked to several coaches, and, the frustration on the coaches' part is that they have to deal with that now in the recruiting process or losing prospects. But Stanford, is it immune to that kind of conversation, or are you someone who says, I don't want to deal with that. Hey, let's just go through the proper channels. What are you hearing?
Yeah, I think you are. You're getting some rogue actors in the space that are coming really aggressively into the market and saying, "Hey, here's what individual opportunity might be afforded to you if you come to our place." There's different approaches by athletic departments in that arena too. I mean, I hate to say it, but I think that golf is on a different place on priority lists around the country in terms of like where it shakes out. If your golf program has had some success and your football program struggled, maybe golf is higher up on your athletic director's priority list in terms of leaning in on some of those opportunities. So it's really kind of it depends on the school type of comment. I do think that there's a lot of schools that are being creative on how they interact with their corporate partners, and how much of, let's say, a corporate deal is being funneled towards the athletes themselves versus the athletic departments in the past. So that there's a lot going on. I think the big macro comment I'll make, and this is I keep going to this, and maybe it's just because I played on a really good team in college golf, and I underline the word team, that the thing that's being missed kind of currently in the high level college game right now is that this is a team sport. People don't really talk about that enough. I even had, I mean, I think PGA Tour has been a boon for our sport, PGA Tour U. But I had a conversation with a good friend there at the tour a couple days ago, and I said, just be careful, because a lot of the work that's being put in on that program right now is really soloing out individual play, right? It's not talking about the team that's winning. It's talking about the individual that's on the right list and who's at the top, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I'm old school, but I just hope that we can really work hard to hold on to college golf being a team endeavor. And that's just me saying that. I mean, like I said, I was lucky enough to be part of some great teams here and have teammates that are friends for life. And I think I owe it to my players to really uphold that in terms of what our priorities are.
Let's get into that. Obviously, you manage one of the great golf courses anywhere in the country, especially at a university. That's something you guys have that nobody else does. With the players arriving back in campus with an immediate schedule, I think that the crazy thing about college golf is literally the kids move in, and then there's a Monday meeting that says, "All right, guys, let's go qualify." I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Take us on the golf course. What's those first couple of weeks like for you at Stanford?
Yeah, I mean, I think people are curious about that, right? But as you point out, Ryan, I mean, it is hit the ground running. We're one of the few sports that doesn't have an off season, really, right? I think that there's a few others within the matrix of college athletics, tennis and different sports that kind of play all year round. We're the same way. 144 days of activity, 24 dates of competition spread across 2 segments. It's a lot. And that's why I think finding the right people and finding guys that understand that it's, success isn't a linear progression. It's not a straight line. There'll be some freshmen that come in and get punched in the nose, and there'll be some freshmen that'll shoot 65 in the first round and be like, holy mackerel, I might make the first tournament, So, I've seen it all over the years. And some of the old guys will be, they've maybe laid back a little this summer and they haven't trained in practice, and that freshman is nipping at their heels. So, it's fun to see that on a regular basis. But I think, if you take it down to ground zero for us, it's just like, hey, what type of team do we have? What are our priorities? What are we going to focus on? What are the team dynamics? Everyone has smaller rosters generally now with some of the new rules that have been installed with, the limit being 9 in most cases. So, I think it's just getting to know each other for those first couple weeks and getting your feet on the ground and knowing that it's a really long season. I think that's there's a lot of golf to be played between now and when that last putt drops at the NC2As in June or late May. And, really you just hope that you've got a plan in place where you're going to put your best foot forward and it really matters.
Coach, we hear a lot from parents and players and asking the question of, like, when they go on to college golf, what's the role of the college coach? A lot of the players now have their own coaches at home, their own sports psychologists, and expectations are laid by parents a lot of times, and not so much from the athletes anymore. but they're going on to college and they're coming to you. What are some of the conversations you're having to kind of reset or set expectations around your team? Because I think you said it right. It is still a team sport for some of these athletes.
Well, I like to turn that around in the recruiting process and ask the athlete and the family, like, what role do you see the coaches playing in your golf development? Because I do think you get a bunch of different answers. I just had that conversation with one of my freshman dads. He was sharing with me like a laundry list of all the stuff that they had put into place for their son to be best prepared, and how, seeing the coaches and checking in and doing and I'm like, well, that we do have some value here with our coaching staff, and we've worked hard to build that out. So it's like reminding parents and student athletes that you don't actually have to have all the answers before you get to college.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of aligns with this idea. I love the fact at our place, like, our kids don't have to declare a major till their junior year, in school. Like, you don't, in today's day and age, I think parents are wired to kind of have it all figured out for you already. And I would just encourage parents to say, look, like, this is a process of development for my kid, not for me, who already knows kind of what I want. Let them figure it out and let them navigate and let them fail a little bit too. I still joke with Maverick McNeely about his first day on campus. I mean, he had the building wrong of the meeting place, and he showed up 30 minutes late to our first team meeting with his bike helmet on, which is kind of a nerd move anyways, and he's pouring sweat, and he's like, "Coach, I'm so sorry, I got lost." And I'm, and you can tell it's like one of the first moments in Maverick's life that he stepped in a pothole, and I loved it. It was great. And I still bug him about it today. But those are what, that's how college should feel. I think for a college freshman, to me, you should be able to kind of go through some stuff and come out the other side. And so that's my recommendation, though, for parents and junior golfers. Like, don't think that you need to have it all solved when you check in, and have confidence in the fact that the coaches hopefully know what they're doing, can hopefully help you along the way, and should be part of that conversation. And don't be afraid to ask for help. Like, I think it's amazing to me. I talk with my peers in coaching a lot, and we compare notes, and you've got a coach that's, won national championships and had guys play for them a bunch. And the college freshman wants to go talk to the swing coach that he just met a month ago about a swing versus the college coach that has seen it all happen. Right. So it's like, where you find information and what you trust, I think, becomes a really important key to success for college freshmen too. And again, parents, I've got kids too, and it's really easy to kind of step in and try and do it for them. But I would just say, parents, let them do it themselves for sure.
Coach, there's no doubt that as great as college golf has always been, we believe it is the golden age of college golf right now, whether it is NIL, PGA Tour U, the success of PGA Tour U with obviously Oberg was the first to be so successful. He made the Ryder Cup team after coming out of Texas Tech 3 months later. Your guy, Thorne Bjornsson, had a wonderful season. We've already seen the likes of Clanton and Koiven get their PGA Tour cards while they're still in school through the accelerated program. Television with college golf is exploding. It seems like there's a lot more coming. You have a radio show. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the radio show and what you guys discuss on that on a basis, just as people start to understand that really the stars of tomorrow are playing today in college golf?
Yeah, well, I love it. We've been doing our Sirius XM Channel 92 Golf U show on Monday nights for almost 10 years. It's hard to believe that we were that far ahead of kind of this media piece that you talk about, Ryan. I do think it's continuing to grow. I think the product's never been better. We love Monday nights because we get to call usually the guy that's won the big tournament on Sunday. My co-host Kyle Gentry, who was on the very first team that I coached here 22 seasons ago, is one of my dear friends now. We have a lot of fun. We provide some insight, opinion, and some picks, so it's fun to go over that. And I think it's right. If you're a golf fan, just like you were on to with this podcast, and Peace, it's like there's a lot of really fun interesting stories to follow, and you can kind of get into a story at the grassroots of success. And it's fun to, have a freshman on there, and then by the time they're a senior, be interviewing them on their successful matriculation to the tour, as you mentioned. But yeah, Golf U on Monday nights on Sirius XM is a lot of fun. I do think, like you say too, I'm excited to see what the next 5 to 10 years brings in the media space for college golf. I think it is the unpolished diamond of kind of the golf landscape. I know, Ryan, you've worked hard in various ways to bring forth the college game, and I love that because I think it's an unbelievable product. There's intriguing storylines, and it's team oriented if produced the right way, and I think people get that. And so I'm excited to see where it goes. I know that a lot of big players in the media space are thinking about it critically, and I hope that the game is really put out there in its best form, because I know it's something special for sure.
Conrad, you say that about the college game. What about the junior game? I know one of the things that we're experiencing is, so much junior golf outlets now that are happening. And obviously it leads to hopefully some more college experiences. Where do you see the future of the junior game going?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the market is pretty strong in terms of opportunity, right? And I think if not careful, it can get saturated, right? I think that's something that, gosh, it wasn't that long ago where there were 15 AJGA events that people wanted or tried to get into and they couldn't. It was like the place you had to go. And now you can gotta not even play like a standard junior golf schedule and get recruited to a Power 4 school. So there's a lot of options and opportunities. I think that with that comes a little bit of confusion from families and parents on where people should play and how much they should play and why are we even playing. I think you got to keep your eye on the why, right? I think you can't lose track of the fact that as a junior golfer, it still needs to be about development. And if that means, hey, I'm just going to play in my state and figure out if I can become one of the top players in my region first before I go on to a bunch of national stuff, even though I might have an opportunity, my focus needs to be in the right spot. And I always go back to the advice that, I heard Earl Woods say about Tiger, back in the day, and Tiger even says it today about, his son, Charlie. Like, you can't skip steps, right? You gotta be able to play at every level. And, I think even that's holding true in the college game. Nowadays, guys are really quick to say, oh, I want to go get a start on tour. I'm like, well, have you won a college event yet? Like, let's figure out how to do that first,
Yeah.
And, so I think it's easy though, to get beyond, the fence a little bit. But junior golf it's flourishing. And I think it's a great thing. It's a big reason why you're seeing these top freshmen come in and these college golfers be so mature. And you look at Mason Howell, our USAM champ. This guy looks like he's been out doing it for 10 years and he's 18, so I think that's just a credit to great junior golf, and hopefully folks are finding those opportunities in their areas.
Well, Coach, as always, we really thank you for coming on, sharing a wealth of knowledge. Certainly look forward to watching Golf U every Monday night, or listening, I should say, and some big things coming down the pike with college golf that we certainly hope you're a part of with us. As you said, this is really just the beginning of that unpolished diamond that's going to be sparkling. No doubt in the next decade. So thanks so much, Coach. We really appreciate it. We'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you, gents. Good to see you today. Appreciate the time.
All right.
Bye-bye. Coach Conrad Ray from Stanford, always a wealth of knowledge. And I'll tell you what, the last thing he said there, Roger, I'm so glad you asked that final question. It really is. It really does come down for junior golf, for our audience, having a better understanding of the junior golf landscape, because quite frankly, it has become a little bit confusing. Do you have to travel to 7 different countries to be able to play junior golf anymore? Do you need $50,000-$60,000 a year in traveling budget for your 13-year-old? Or is there other ways to navigate and get where you need to get to? And it all, of course, starts with that practice plan at home. That's the most important, building that foundation through PDI before you even really have to go out and play tournaments. I think it was the last podcast I said that was, as a parent, that's by far the biggest regret and error. And the dogs agree. They agree. But, it's having a practice plan.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, it's very interesting as what his comment there about the junior golf space, right? Which is, skipping steps. And he that was kind of the college part of it, but alluding to the junior aspect of it is not skipping any steps. And one of the things I notice and hear all the time is now how junior and parents are looking at skipping the step of development and skipping, hey, I got to go play in a WAGR event. I got to go play in an AJGA event. They've never won locally. They've never won in their state. They haven't really competed or finished in the top 5 in a good junior event. But they're going and doing these things based on ranking points and based on things that will give them exposure. Now, part of it is you want to get exposure for the experience, but you don't build your schedule around skipping steps, right? To your point, it starts with developing your skill sets, mental golf, physical, and then putting yourself out there and playing in competition and learning and growing from that competition. As Tommy Fleetwood said, resilience is something that happens based on failing fast, right? And then overcoming that with the growth mindset. So really important that the kids understand that and the parents understand that.
No doubt. And obviously this podcast is going to get an abnormal amount of views. We're certainly happy about that. We understand that Stanford is a big draw. So for those that are catching and listening to us for the first time, we do this just about every week, the Hub of Junior Golf podcast. We have different coaches on from all the different divisions, men's and women, and certainly talk about the junior golf journey. It is, the Junior Golf Hub is the greatest roadmap for junior golf. Simply go to juniorgolfhub.com and you will be wiser and a better golf parent for doing it. So certainly we thank Coach Ray for coming on. Thanks, Roger, to our director and producer, Michael Nick, and of course for you, Roger. Appreciate everything you've done for this incredible game of junior golf. So until next time, for the Hub of Junior Golf podcast, I'm Ryan Burt. We'll see you back here real soon.